Thank you for tuning in for another episode of Curious Cat Crime Sunday with Shelby and Olivia. This is Shelby, and today's episode is going to be on Brooke, Skylar, Richardson. On May 17, 2017, American teenager Brooke Skylar Richardson gave birth at home alone and buried her newborn daughter in the backyard of her parents' house in Carlisle, Ohio. Let's get into the story. I couldn't find much information about her growing up or on her life. It was mainly on the pregnancy and the birth and the investigation, the trial. Not really much on her, so I do apologize that I don't have more to say about her. Brooke Skylar Richardson was born March 9th, 1999, in Ohio. She attended Carlisle High School in Ohio, where she was a cheerleader. I saw also through my reading that she at least had one brother named Jackson who played on the football team. We know that Brooke, or she goes by Skylar, was a cheerleader. So I just thought I would put that in here as well so you could know. As I said, there's not much information on just her life, so little bits I do have I am going to put in this video. Brooke was born to parents Scott and Kim Richardson. Brooke had also suffered from an eating disorder. Her mother, Kim Richardson, said she noticed the first problem when her cheerleader daughter was in the 6th grade. At 12 years old, Kim says she wouldn't buy gum because it has 5 calories. I didn't even know gum had calories, she said. Richardson became pregnant during her senior year of high school. After her first gynecology appointment, Richardson was told that she was pregnant and would give birth within a few weeks. After hearing the news, Brooke cried out loud, stating how she was not prepared to have a baby. She begged the gynecologist for birth control despite her pregnancy. She kept her pregnancy a secret from both her friends and her family. Before giving birth, she searched up how not to have a baby and how to get rid of a baby on her laptop using the internet. After senior prom on May 7, 2017, she gave birth to the child in the bathroom of her parents' house and subsequently buried the baby in the backyard. The next morning at the gym, she texted her mother, "I'm literally speechless with how happy I am. My belly is back. OMG." For around 2 months, the baby remained buried, and she did not tell anyone else, until after a routine visit to the gynecologist for more birth control pills, where she admitted to burying her baby in the backyard after giving birth. Her previous relationship ended quickly. By January 2017, Skylar had had a new boyfriend, a high school junior named Brandon. The person in this interview with Kim Richardson said, "Why did those two click? What is it?" By the way, it was Erin Moriarty who was giving the interview from 48 Hours. Kim Richardson says, "I don't know, because she's this tall and he's this tall," laughing at their height difference. It says, Skylar was happy. She even seemed to be putting on some weight. Kim and Scott hoped that their daughter's eating disorder was finally under control. Scott Richardson. "We were actually pleased that she was finally gaining some weight." Kim Richardson. "She looked healthy." A month later, she eagerly picked out her prom dress. Kim Richardson. "And it was a tight-fitting dress that she needed to be laced up in." And then in late March, Skylar went on vacation with her family. Kim Richardson said, "She wore a two-piece. Told her she looked great. I mean, for the first time in her life, I thought she looked healthy. She's in a healthy relationship. She cares about Brandon. I could tell that she did." Kim knew Skylar's relationship with Brandon was heating up. Kim Richardson. "That's why I wanted her to be on the pill." So in late April, Skylar went with her mother to the gynecologist to get a prescription for birth control. She had just turned 18, so Kim waited outside. Kim Richardson. She came out crying. She had clearly been crying. Erin Moriarty. "Did you ask her why she was crying?" Kim Richardson. "Just, it was traumatic, your first appointment." The real reason for the tears? The doctors had told Skylar she was 8 months pregnant. She had asked him not to tell anyone. Erin Moriarty. "She never said anything to either one of you about what the doctor told her?" Kim Richardson. "No." 9 days later, on May 5th, Skylar and Brandon went to the prom. Despite being late into her pregnancy, she fit into her gown. I will post the photos here. Erin Moriarty. She's wearing the same dress that she had tried on in February. Kim Richardson. "Purchased February 15th. I had side by side put the pictures together. They're almost identical. They're identical." Though less than 48 hours later, in the early mornings of May 7th, something happened that turned the Richardsons' life upside down forever. It remained Skylar's secret for more than 2 months when police suddenly showed up at the house. Scott Richardson. They said, "Hey, we need to talk to your daughter about something she may have witnessed. You know, she's not in trouble, we just need to talk to her." Taking them at their word, Scott drove his daughter to the police station. "Scott, I mean, honestly, I can look back the biggest mistake I've made in my entire life." As for the investigation, the infant's skeletal remains were dug up from the backyard July 14th, 2017, and an autopsy determined that the baby's bones were partially charred and died from homicidal violence, and I quote. When interviewed by police, Richardson was at first hesitant about burning her baby, but after the second police interview, she stated, "I tried to cremate the baby," and I quote. Let's get more into this investigation. On July 14th, 2017, when Scott Richardson drove his daughter Skylar to the Carlisle police station, he had no idea that she had been keeping a secret. Erin Moriarty. As she was going to talk to the police, "Do you know what it was about?" Scott Richardson. "No, have no idea." Lieutenant John Fain, who was at the time was the Warren County Sheriff's Office, wanted to question the 18-year-old Skylar about a call they'd received. Lieutenant John Fain. There's an allegation from an OBGYN office that a patient there had delivered a baby at home and subsequently buried her in the backyard. Skylar was put in a interrogation room. Her father wasn't allowed in with her. As Lieutenant Fain read Skylar her rights and then began pressing her, a camera was recording everything. "We got a call from the doctor's office, okay? And according to them, on April 26th, you found out you were pregnant. Remember, that was the same day Skylar went to see the gynecologist about getting birth control pills, as I mentioned earlier. More than 2 months later, she returned. You went back to the office," he said. She says, "Mm-hmm." And I told her what happened, that I'd had the baby and it wasn't alive. I didn't kill her, though. Skylar told investigators that early morning hours of May 7th, 2017, she gave birth to a stillborn baby in her bathroom. Skylar Richardson. She just kind of came out and I tried. I'm trying to hold her, see if she's breathing, but she doesn't have a heartbeat. Lieutenant John Fain, excuse me. So now, what do you do when you realize that she's not going to make it? Skylar Richardson. I have to bury her. I couldn't tell anybody. Without waking anyone, Skylar said she silently walked downstairs, got a small garden trowel, and then dug a shallow grave in the backyard. Skylar Richardson. I did not try and kill my baby. About 45 minutes of questioning, Lieutenant Fain told Skylar's anxious parents the real reason they brought in their daughter. Scott Richardson. Shock. Kim Richardson. I couldn't feel my body. I could not get up. How could that happen? I've seen her every day. I look at her, I talk to her, I hug her. Fain then gave the Richardsons some time alone with their daughter, never mentioning the cameras was rolling and capturing a deeply personal moment. And I do have pictures of this moment. Skylar Richardson to her parents. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Mommy, I'm sorry. Scott Richardson. You should have just told us. At the end of the hour-long interrogation, the detectives had enough to arrest the 18-year-old on charges of reckless homicide. Their theory was that she suffocated the baby. In the interrogation room, a distraught Skylar told her parents what she'd told police. Skylar Richardson, I tried to cremate the baby just a little bit. Scott Richardson, you tried to cremate the baby? Skylar Richardson, yeah, a little. I did it a little. Skylar made bail just 2 weeks later, and the case was presented to the grand jury, who indicted her on a new, devastating set of charges. Skylar was arrested again. Warren County Prosecutor David Forshannell addressed reporters. Prosecutor. Count on one of the indictment is for aggravated murder. Aggravated murder, a charge that carries mandatory life sentence in Ohio. The other charge, involuntary manslaughter, endangering children, and abuse of a corpse. Forshannell left no doubt he had the evidence. Prosecutor David to reporters. A general allegation against her that she did give birth to a newborn infant, she caused the death of the infant, and burned the infant, and buried the infant. The motive says for a baby wouldn't fit into Skylar's life. A young mother accused of killing her newborn was found not guilty on Thursday of the most serious charges against her. Brooke Skylar Richardson, 20, was accused of deliberately killing a child in 2017 and burying her in the backyard. A little more than 4 hours of deliberation, a jury cleared her of that. She sobbed as the verdict was read. A sheriff deputy handcuffed Richardson and led her out of the courtroom. She was going to jail, but only for a night. Neither Richardson nor her family spoke to the reporters while leaving the courthouse. Her attorney said she had a stillbirth when she was 18 and didn't know what else to do but to bury the child. Richardson had been charged with aggravated murder, involuntary manslaughter, child endangerment, tampering with evidence, and gross abuse of a corpse. She was facing the potential of life in prison. A judge dismissed the tampering with evidence charge earlier this week. A jury found her not guilty of all charges except gross abuse of a corpse, one of the lesser charges. Her sentencing is scheduled for Friday morning. After the verdict, Richardson's attorney told reporters they don't expect her to serve any jail time. They said she has done enough time. Richardson's trial began September 3rd, and what she saw was her nightmare really began in 2017. The 18-year-old cheerleader was in love with her boyfriend and planning to go to the University of Cincinnati in the fall. Then she found out she was pregnant, and her boyfriend was not the father. Prosecutors said her perfect life was in jeopardy, so she did whatever she could to keep it secret. For almost 2 weeks, jury heard conflicting testimony, shocking texts, and a disputed confession. Jurors had to decide whether Richardson was naive, scared, and easily manipulated young woman who had a stillbirth and was coerced into confessing to murder, or someone who had killed her child because she was obsessed with external appearances. Unwanted, said Assistant Warren County Prosecutor Julie Kraft during closing arguments on Thursday. That's what Brooke Richardson's daughter was. Richardson's attorney said her confession to the police was coerced. They said an investigation relied on scientific evidence that was proved false to bully Richardson. Initially, a forensic pathologist told authorities the baby was burned. The pathologist later recanted that opinion. Everyone who testified during the trial agreed there were no physical evidence the baby was burned. Richardson told police she tried to cremate her baby with a lighter. It's impossible, said defense attorney Charlie M. Rittigers before jurors began deliberating. During closing arguments, Rittigers told jurors that his own wife's pregnancy. He said he was scared and didn't know what the child was supposed to look like, and he wasn't 18 and didn't suffer from an eating disorder like Richardson did. During the trial, a psychologist testified Richardson was sexually abused when she was 12, a boy she looked up to. That contributed to her personality disorder, in which she lived to please people and was terrified of rejection. Her friends' classmates testified that after meals she would stack plates and silverware. Then she would grab a napkin and wipe the table clean. And if her food came out wrong, Richardson wouldn't tell anyone. She didn't want to cause problems. Her attorney said that this was why she confessed to a crime she didn't commit. Assistant Warren County Prosecutor Steve Kiplin and Richardson never wanted to have a child. He used text to make the final pitch to jurors. My belly is back, Kiplin told jurors on Thursday, referencing a text Richardson sent the day she buried her child. The belly was her child. The belly was her child with fingers, toes, hair on her head. A child she tossed in the dirt. An investigator recovered the child buried near a tree line and marked with a flower pot Richardson could see from her window. There was nothing left but bones. Prosecutors called it a perfect crime. During the trial, the prosecution alleged that Richardson had burned her newborn child's body before burying it in the backyard of her home. During the trial, a forensic expert who had previously determined the newborn's remains had been charred, revised that opinion and recanted their earlier evidence. The defense argued that Richardson was subjected to an overzealous interrogation because of the baby's burning theory. A psychologist diagnosed her with dependent personality disorder and testified that the disorder could have led to her making false confessions. I'll get to dependent personality disorder in a little bit. After the trial, a juror said that Richardson was not convicted on the more serious charge because the prosecutors did not prove their case. Now let's get more into the trial. After a lengthy trial, she was sentenced to 3 years of community control, otherwise known as probation. During a brief hearing last month, Common Pleas judge acknowledged Richardson's offense is eligible to be sealed, but said he was reluctant to erase all records of the case from the official file. Just wanted to give a little bit of information, but dependent personality disorder is characterized by a pervasive psychological dependence on other people. This personality disorder is a long-term condition in which people depend on others to meet their emotional and physical needs, with only a minority achieving normal levels of independence. In a televised interview, Skylar's parents, Scott and Kim, speak out about the impact of the case on their family and on their daughter. "The worst nightmare, purgatory every day," Kim Richardson said, followed by "We're followed, stalked, harassed. Facebook, to me, turned into hate book," she says. A former American cheerleader cleared of murdering her baby after her school hormone has successfully won a bid to have her records of her convictions sealed. Brooke Skylar Richardson was acquitted of aggravated murder, involuntary manslaughter, and child endangerment after a widely publicized murder trial in 2019. Jurors did, however, find her guilty of gross abuse of a corpse. Prosecutors claim Richardson, who was 18 when she gave birth to a little girl who she named Annabelle in May of 2017, killed her baby by crushing the little girl's skull and then setting her on fire because she didn't want to be a single mom. Richardson always protested her innocence. The U.S. court eventually ruled Annabelle was stillborn when Richardson gave birth to her in secret in the bathroom of her parents' home and buried her in the backyard. Now, Richardson, who served 14 months of a 3-year probation, has won a recent bid to stop a general public viewing record of the sensational court case. If you made it this far, thank you for tuning in for another episode of Curious Cat Crime Sunday with Shelby and Olivia. I hope you enjoyed, and remember to like and subscribe. Always comment if you feel the need to talk to us. We do answer frequently, and I will get back to you as soon as possible. And we will be back here same time, same place next Sunday, and I hope you have a great week. Bye-bye.